Hello and happy, beautiful day to you. Welcome to this week's quick IQ episode where we talk about insights and questions. And today I have a really great question from a listener regarding the last few podcasts. And by the way, so many people have reached out saying how eye-opening the last few podcasts have been when I worked with our beautiful volunteer, Melissa. And as a quick recapper, if you haven't listened to them, basically, in short, she's this beautiful, beautiful being. I mean, just incredible heart, incredible being who has been stuck with recurring cancer and recurring illness and stuck and hurt. And part of what was going on where she's been trying to get out of it, what you could see simultaneously is that some of her spiritual beliefs or practices have actually been keeping her stuck. And so that awareness, I mean, so many people reached out and in case you didn't listen to it, just an example, just going into meditation so much that there was part of her brain that just wanted to go check out and just live on a mountain and meditate and had built up that life is scary, life is dangerous, life isn't safe, life is painful, but meditation and checking out is pleasurable and wonderful. And so what can happen is if we look at the mind very simply, and just in very basic terms, the brain has we have pain and pleasure. Like we want pleasure and we want to avoid pain. And so when somebody gets it linked up over and over and over that life is extremely painful and dangerous and that checking out and meditation is positive and feels good and blissful, then the mind just wants to check out more and more and more. And we kind of want to escape life, if you will. And that's exactly what she said. She's like, I took 2 years off of life. And so, and every time she tried to go back to life, she got sick. And of course, there's all of those triggered emotions and hurt, etc. But there was something else as well. And it was also a feeling of disconnect. And so what I wanted to do, the question that I got today was asking exactly that. Somebody messaged in and said just how eye-opening it was to see and witness how that gets linked up in the mind. And, it's something that I've been talking about for years because the very thing happened to me where my brain just wanted to check out more and more and more. And part of the reason is because for me personally, I was physically in so much pain. And then of course life became scary and hard and all of these things. And I wasn't supposed to heal, so to speak, or, and the more problems that were happening in life, the more I could just check out and meditate. That of course felt better. And so I ended up in the same place. But then after years and years and years and years of not healing, I said, I've really got to change this. Like, what is going to actually work? And it made me instead say, okay, well, instead of checking out to feel blissful in meditation, I need to start applying this towards life and falling in love with life and shifting my emotions towards life and what's going on and all of these things. And it was pivotal, of course, to do that at a deeper, deeper level. And the question that came in was exactly that, was how often do you see people and what kind of spiritual beliefs or emotions or practices do you see keep people stuck? And the truth of it is I see this all of the time in different ways. And just so often that people's spiritual beliefs or practices can actually keep them very stuck. And so that's what I want to answer that question, is just to provide you with a few more things. And of course, any belief can keep you stuck. But these are just some common ones that I see people doing all of the time that actually end up sabotaging their efforts of what they're really wanting in life. And so another example is, and we actually saw this in the last podcast episode also, was a feeling of feeling more spiritual than others and then feeling a disconnect from it. And so if we feel like, oh, we're more and more and more spiritual and we just can't connect with other people because of that, it creates a feeling of loneliness and isolation. And of course, if we look at medical research, even new research has even shown that loneliness can increase illness, type 2 diabetes, heart attack, stroke. But we've known that for many, many years. I mean, if we think about it, a child who doesn't get enough love and connection can actually die. And that's been well known for many years. And so we need love and connection. And so if we say, oh, I'm so spiritual, I feel disconnected, I can't connect with people, well, now it's keeping us stuck. And so that's another way. And by the way, obviously, I'm extremely spiritual and get information and all of these things. And I love connecting with people in a variety of different ways through, through pickleball or sports or connecting or laughing or just being present or just doing so many different things, like going out to eat and enjoying or traveling. I mean, there's just so many different ways where, just connecting with people, laughing. It's fun. And so on that note, making sure that you're connecting with people, even if they're spiritual or not spiritual, because the truth is we're all spiritual or spiritful. We all are full of spirit. We're all connected to universe, God, divine energy, whatever you want to call it. But so creating that feeling of connectedness. And so, as you may also recall, another thing that was keeping her stuck was a feeling of superiority. So what happens is if there's a righteousness or a superiority, that can keep you stuck as well. And so that, of course, is another thing that I see. Another thing that I'll see come up is a lot of times when people get into personal development, they have a huge desire to help others. They just want to help this person and this person and this person and this person, and they see it. And it becomes so intrusive that they lose connection with people. And I have worked with people, by the way, who were suffering, who had breast cancer, who had, a variety of different autoimmune conditions, a variety of different conditions and pain or, all kinds of things. That at their core, part of the problem was that they had been giving advice to people, so much unsolicited advice, that nobody wanted to be around them anymore. So they constantly, and they didn't see that. They didn't know it was that reason. They felt like they're helping and they're doing good. And then they realized their son didn't want to be around them anymore. Their daughter didn't want them around. Their family didn't want them. And they felt so much rejection. And then inside their own mind, they might say something like this: I just do everything and I help so much and I give and I'm so loving and I'm so caring and I do this and I help them with this and I do all these things and they just don't want to be around me. And so I've seen that so many times. And so that's another thing that comes up. Or another thing that I'll see, and I'll see people do this, is where they have this belief about spirituality and manifesting that they shouldn't have to do anything. And so they think that, like, okay, well, let me just manifest this and whatever, manifest in their lives. And then what happens is they get so into manifesting and not doing things that life gets worse and worse and worse and harder. And so they just kind of want to check out more and more and more, or feel afraid or feel terrified and scared. And the way you want to think about manifesting is that, yes, our mindset absolutely creates our life. But also what happens is our mindset helps create our lives. And then as we change it and we change our energy, it's like more of the best of us can show up. It's like if you change your mindset, so you're even towards a relationship, so you're getting rid of wounding and you're really changing your energy and it's more loving, then more of the loving you shows up, that then attracts more loving energy. And so my point is that it's not about, manifesting is not about, okay, well, let's align with something and let's just sit here. Instead, as you align, you feel energized and you feel alive and you feel like you have these ideas that come in and more of the best of you shows up. And it's, and the example that I use all the time is to think about a writer who has writer's block. Maybe they're blocked. They can't think of this, but when they open their mindset or they unblock it, they can have all the ideas come in. But if they have a bunch of ideas come in and they never write it down, well, then the writer with writer's block, even though they have ideas, they never wrote it down. They never did anything or took action on it. And so there's that. Now, of course, there's other steps. The writing and taking action on it is one thing, but also being in good integrity and following through and getting it done. So there's steps. But my point is that as you align, the best of you can show up. And my other point is that I've seen people who end up waiting instead of allowing the best of themselves to show up, instead of embracing a real transformation that isn't just in their head, but starts coming through them into action, that then their lives feel stuck, or they feel painful, or they feel worse and worse and worse, in which case they kind of want to check out more. And that, of course, can increase pain and problems and hurt and whatnot, because there's more and more stress that people are trying to suppress. And that's another one that I've seen all of the time as well. And so when we stop and think about it for a moment, if we really, really fall in love with life, if we fall in love with people, if we really want to connect, if we let go of, patterns of that are disconnecting us from life, patterns that are disconnecting us from people, patterns that are disconnecting us from being our best self, or patterns that are causing a lot of hurt and fear, then ultimately that's when we really create the change. Now, sometimes I have seen this over and over. What can happen is that people can have a tendency to repeat patterns and actions and not realize that it is impacting their life in another way. For example, going back to somebody who's giving unsolicited advice to everybody around them. And then everybody around them is feeling like they want to be more and more distant and more and more distant. And then the person says, well, I don't know what's happening. Everybody, poor me type of feeling. And my point is that their actions in that case are perpetuating the problem. And of course, their mindset. So the mindset, the pattern of rejection started there, but the pattern of rejection starts in the mind and then shows up in the action. So what is my point? My point is that when we create that real change, it's not just meditation or checking out or thinking positively or whatnot. It's really changing our mindset and then allowing that to also change our actions and the way that we're showing up to really show up in an even more beautiful way. So the best of you can show up. And so food for thought in that. And I want to invite you from this to really look at your own spiritual practices or self-help practices or connection with people practices, and ask yourself, is there something that you're doing that's pushing people away? Or are you feeling disconnected from others because of your spirituality? And if so, instead of feeling disconnected from others, how could you feel more connected to others? Because again, I can't tell you how often I see people who feel spiritual who then feel disconnected from their husband or their wife or their spouse or their people around them because they're so spiritual. They just feel like they can't connect. It's something that I have seen time and time and time again. And so that's another thing. Now, by the way, there's something else that I talk about all the time. And it's also that if we go into a lot of silence and a lot of silence in life where you're going, okay, you're spending extended periods of time in silent meditation and silent retreats and silent this and silent that. And you're doing that a lot. And, or even doing it first thing in the morning and spending so much time in silence, what can happen is life can start to feel overwhelming. And the example that you hear me use all the time is, let's say you go to a day spa. So somebody goes to a spa or goes and gets a massage and they're relaxed and getting a massage, and then they go to a dance club right afterwards. That might feel jarring. Or, applying that to day-to-day life, I've seen parents who might meditate first thing in the morning, then maybe they have 3 kids getting ready for school, and they're getting ready for school and they're laughing or doing this or doing that. And it can all feel chaotic and overwhelming. Not because it really is, but because they just came out of the spa, if you will. And so it can feel jarring. So that's another way. And so again, just looking at how your spirituality shows up in your life. And I want to invite you to even ask yourself, are you able to connect with people who are, quote unquote, aren't spiritual, so to speak? Because if you think about our last volunteer, again, beautiful, beautiful being. And notice what she was saying is nobody is spiritual enough in New Orleans for her to even connect with. Okay. So which is, of course, it's been an ongoing pattern for her. But notice that feeling of loneliness inside. Like again, her self-awareness was so good. And she noticed she was craving connection. So imagine somebody who's hungry for food, who's starving for food, and yet has no way of getting it, or starving and parched for water and has no way of getting it. You know, what can happen is the mind can work in a certain way, which was exactly like she's trying to connect, but feeling like it was empty there. There wasn't a way to do it. And so that's really where I want to leave you with this, is of course thinking about all of these pieces and if any of them are showing up in your life, but also asking you, how can you make sure that spirituality is connecting you with people in a positive way, and that you feel like you can connect with people from all walks of life, and that you feel like, you know, we are all spiritual and spiritful, but you feel like this ability to connect or laugh, or the camaraderie feeling, even if, you know, somebody from a different culture isn't your best friend, because you maybe not have that much in common, but you can still feel a connectedness with humanity and people around you. And so, food for thought to just make sure that your spiritual practices are really connecting you in a beautiful way. So that's today's quick IQ episode. And as always, please do take just a quick moment to hit the share button on this episode. You know, share it with somebody you love, somebody you care about, or somebody you don't even know, because the more that every single person feels happy and healthy and loved and loving, the better this world is for all of us. And so please do take just a quick moment to hit the share button, and please do make a point to have a most wonderful, incredible rest of your day. And I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. We'll see you there.